Mr. Chair and Senators, on behalf of the Institute of Marriage and Family Canada, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present to you our considerations with regard to C290. The clerk has copies of my presentation, and the two papers on which it is based have already been translated and distributed. The Institute of Marriage and Family Canada argues against the passing of Bill C290 for two reasons. First, gambling is profoundly damaging to the families and communities of problem gamblers. Government bears much or some of the cost of cleaning up the resulting messes. Second, provincial governments take almost a quarter of their profits from gambling addicts. Government is abusing its power when it relies on addicts to generate revenue. The Canadian Association for Mental Health defines problem gambling this way. Gambling is a problem when it gets in the way of work, school, or other activities, harms your mental or physical health, hurts you financially, damages your reputation, causes problems with your family or friends. First, gambling's effect on families. We know that in the families of gambling addicts, problem gamblers, there are far too many innocent victims. A study of children of problem gamblers by Philip Derbyshire of the University of South Australia heard three siblings describe an episode, quote, when their mother was trying to leave to gamble as one of her younger children struggled to wrest the suitcase from her grasp to make her stay. A 2008 study published in the Journal of Gambling Studies found that violence between spouses was significantly higher in their sample of problem gamblers than in the general population. A 2008 study in Norway found that families of problem gamblers experienced family conflict at a rate more than 50 times higher than the general population. In a 2011 Alberta study, Dr. Robert William of the University of Lethbridge found that roughly 6% of gamblers account for 75% of all the money spent on gambling in that province. A 2009 study found that an estimated 3.2% of Canadian adults have a moderate to severe gambling habit. This is comparable to the number of Canadians 25 and older who are frequent heavy drinkers. More importantly, we know that problem gamblers deeply affect those around them. An Australian study estimated that one problem gambler can affect 5 to 10 people. This would translate to roughly between 4 and 8 million Canadians. Provincial governments are themselves addicted to gambling revenues. Ontario is undergoing a massive plan to modernize the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation, OLG. The government wants to use this plan to raise OLG profits by $1.3 billion annually by 2017. We know that BC, Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes have all expanded or are about to expand into online gambling. Ontario's Finance Minister, Dwight Duncan, stated publicly that this move is, quote, about the competitiveness of OLG going forward and, I stress this, ensuring that it continues to be a reliable source of revenue for the province. Simply put, when provincial governments are short on cash, they turn to gambling to line their pockets, and the House always wins. We are also witnessing an enormous conflict of interest here. Governments claim to be concerned about gambling addiction and even spend some money to address it, but no government will make a serious effort to help problem gamblers quit when their profits depend on those same gamblers. Remember that in Alberta, 6% of gamblers account for 75% of all money spent on gambling. C290 further expands gambling. In fact, by expanding it to individual sports events, it expands it greatly across the country. And it is, frankly, giving families of gambling addicts another reason to fear that things are only going to get worse. In closing, the Institute of Marriage and Family Canada cannot support C290 because problem gamblers and their families will suffer more as gambling expands. Our governments pay to deal with the resulting problems. Add to that the fact that provincial governments addicted to these very revenues cannot be trusted with this expansion. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you, and I look forward to your questions.